heard a knock in the silence of midnight, a sound that chills your skin and makes your heart race? Tonight, chosen ones, that knock isn't random. It's a warning, a test, and the truth they never wanted you to know. Stay with me, because what you learn now could protect everything meant for you. Midnight is not just a number on the clock. It has always been a time wrapped in mystery, transformation, and heightened awareness. Across cultures and traditions, midnight has carried the reputation of being a threshold, the moment when the day you have just lived finally surrenders and a new one silently begins. It is this in-between quality that makes midnight so significant. You are neither fully in yesterday nor fully in tomorrow. You're standing at a doorway, and doorways have always been powerful symbols in the spiritual world. For centuries, spiritual teachers and mystics described midnight as a crossroads hour, a period when the veil between the physical and the unseen thins. In Christianity, midnight prayers are considered particularly potent because they are believed to pierce through darkness with greater force. In Islam, the late-night prayer known as tahajjud is regarded as a time when divine mercy descends and hidden truths are unveiled. Even outside organized religion, folklore often describes midnight as the time when spirits roam, when dreams intensify, and when hidden energies move freely. Clearly, this is no ordinary hour. Think about how midnight feels in your own life. The streets are quieter, the world slows down. While most people are asleep, you are left with silence, and silence can magnify everything. A single creak in the hallway feels louder. A sudden thought in your mind feels heavier. This stillness, while peaceful for some, can also be unsettling because it draws attention to things you usually ignore during the noise of the day. Midnight amplifies awareness. It shines a spotlight on both your highest inspiration and your deepest fears. This is also why midnight often plays a role in major transitions. From fairy tales where curses lift at midnight to the ancient Roman belief in midnight as a sacred turning point, the symbolism has endured across time. Midnight marks the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. It is a spiritual reset button, but like all reset buttons, it carries both opportunity and vulnerability. If you step through it with intention, you align yourself with renewal and strength. But if you stumble carelessly, you risk letting in what doesn't belong. For chosen ones especially, midnight represents a moment of spiritual sensitivity. It is a checkpoint where your discernment is sharpened and your choices weigh heavier than usual. It's why many stories of visions, divine messages, or profound awakenings occur in the middle of the night. When everything external goes quiet, the internal voice becomes clearer, whether that voice comes from your higher self or from forces trying to distract you. Understanding the symbolism of midnight prepares you for why a midnight knock is not just an innocent event, but a test of awareness. Midnight is more than the middle of the night. It's a doorway between worlds, a mirror of your spiritual state, and a moment that demands you choose what to let in and what to keep out. A knock at your door is never just a sound, it's an invitation. Someone on the outside is requesting entry, and in order for them to step in, you must grant permission. This simple act carries deep spiritual meaning. The midnight knock, in particular, represents more than a physical interruption. It symbolizes a test of your discernment, your boundaries, and your ability to protect your destiny. In spiritual traditions, tests rarely arrive in obvious form. They appear as subtle disruptions, things that seem ordinary but carry weight beneath the surface. A knock at midnight fits this pattern perfectly. On one level, it's a noise at your door. On another, it's an opportunity to see whether you'll act out of fear, curiosity, or wisdom. Chosen ones often face these hidden trials because they stand at the edge of transformation. Before a blessing is released, there is usually a test that asks one question: will you guard the door of your spirit, or will you open it too quickly? Think of it like this: your home is not only where you sleep, it's the symbolic container of your soul. Answering a midnight knock is not just opening a door, it's opening your energy field at the very hour when boundaries are weakest. Some cultures speak of spirits needing permission to cross thresholds. Folklore from Europe to Africa often repeats the same warning: never invite something in unless you know its nature. By responding, even out of kindness, you risk giving access to what does not deserve entry. But this is not only about unseen forces. Tests can come in the form of people too. The unexpected call, the sudden message, the literal late-night knock, it can all be a way of pulling you off your path. Maybe it's someone trying to stir drama or a distraction arriving when you're most vulnerable. If you answer without thought, you may find yourself caught in unnecessary confusion that drains your energy. The real challenge of the midnight knock is not the sound itself, it's your reaction. Do you panic? Do you rush to open just in case? Or do you pause, breathe, and remember that not every knock deserves a response? This moment reveals your spiritual maturity. The knock is less about what's outside and more about what's inside, your ability to remain grounded when faced with uncertainty. For chosen ones, this test is vital. Answering too quickly means falling into the trap of fear or curiosity. Resisting the urge to respond proves that you can trust your discernment, protect your boundaries, and wait for what truly aligns with God's plan. In the end, the midnight knock is a mirror. It doesn't just test your door, it tests your discipline, your awareness, and your readiness to step into a higher level of spiritual strength. Humanity has always had a cautious relationship with the night. Long before electricity lit up our cities, darkness was a force people deeply respected, sometimes even feared. Within that darkness, the midnight knock became one of the most unsettling symbols, so unsettling, in fact, that nearly every culture in history warned against it. These warnings weren't random superstition, they were born from centuries of experience and observation. In European folklore, the midnight knock was often associated with spirits or restless souls. Villagers believed that if someone knocked on your door in the dead of night, it wasn't always a living person. It could be a wandering spirit looking for entry. Opening the door, they said, meant inviting that spirit into your home and your life. Stories of death knocks circulated widely in Ireland and Scotland, where a series of knocks at midnight was seen as a grim omen of loss in the family. In parts of Africa, elders spoke of trickster spirits who came at night disguised as visitors. These spirits couldn't simply walk in, they needed to be invited. The knock was their way of testing whether someone had the wisdom to resist. Families were taught from childhood, if you hear it at night, stay still, stay quiet, and never respond. The lesson wasn't just about spirits, but about discipline, patience, and discernment. Middle Eastern traditions also echo this theme. In some Islamic teachings, the late-night hours are known to be spiritually charged, moments of divine mercy, but also a vulnerability to whispers and distractions. Folk tales described how evil jinn would approach doors, waiting for an invitation, while wise believers were reminded to protect their homes with prayer and remembrance of God before sleep. Even in Asia, we find similar cautionary tales. In rural Japan, legends spoke of yokai, supernatural entities who roamed at night, sometimes knocking or scratching at doors. Those who ignored the sounds remained safe, but those who responded often found themselves entangled in fearsome encounters. The lesson was consistent. Not every call at night is meant for you, and not every presence deserves acknowledgement. What's fascinating is how universal these warnings are. Cultures separated by oceans and centuries all arrived at the same conclusion. The midnight knock is not to be trusted. Whether explained as ghosts, demons, spirits, or energy thieves, the message remained: discernment is protection. For chosen ones, these ancient stories are more than just folklore, they're reminders. They show us that across time, people recognize the hidden tests that come in disguise. Our ancestors weren't ignorant, they were watchful, and their warnings still hold weight today. If the elders taught anything, it's this: when the world sleeps and someone comes knocking, wisdom says to stay silent. Not all midnight knocks come from the outside. Sometimes, the real battle is in your own mind. When you hear that sudden thud against the door, your first instinct isn't logic, it's emotion. Fear, curiosity, guilt, and even hope collide in your head, each one trying to push you into action. These reactions are exactly why the midnight knock is such an effective test. It's not about the sound, it's about the psychological traps it sets. The first trap is fear. Darkness has a way of amplifying danger in your imagination. What might feel harmless at noon feels threatening at midnight. A knock you would ignore in the day suddenly makes your pulse race. Fear convinces you that if you don't answer, something worse will happen, that you'll miss your chance to stop the threat. But in reality, fear clouds judgment. When fear controls you, you open doors you were never meant to open. The second trap is curiosity. The mind whispers, what if it's important? What if someone really needs you? This is the same voice that has led countless people into mistakes, because curiosity rarely asks about consequences. It only wants to know what's behind the door, even if that knowledge comes at a cost. For chosen ones, this curiosity is especially dangerous because your desire for meaning can be twisted against you. You long to see signs, so every knock feels like a signal. But not all signals come from the right source. Then comes guilt, perhaps the most manipulative of all. What if it's a neighbor in trouble? What if someone is hurt? The thought of ignoring another person's need feels unbearable. And so, out of compassion, you act. But compassion without discernment can be a trap. Manipulative forces know this, which is why they strike at night when you're less rational and more emotional. Finally, there's the trap of overthinking. You freeze, torn between options, replaying every possible scenario in your head. Minutes pass, your anxiety grows, and in the pressure to end the uncertainty, you act rashly. Overthinking makes you forget the simplest truth. You are not obligated to answer every knock. Sometimes, the wisest response is no response at all. Psychologists note that willpower and rational thinking are weakest late at night. Your brain is fatigued, your defenses lowered. This is why the timing of the knock matters. At midnight, you're more likely to fall into fear, curiosity, guilt, or overthinking, and less likely to stand firm in calm wisdom. Recognizing these traps is the key. When you understand how your mind is being tested, you can step back, breathe, and remember that not every urge to act is divine guidance. Some urges are distractions dressed as duty. And the chosen ones who learn to see through these traps become unshakable, able to guard their destiny with clarity instead of panic. There's a reason midnight feels different. Science and spirituality both agree. The energy of the world changes when the clock strikes 12. The rhythms of nature, the human body, and even unseen realms shift in ways that make this hour unlike any other. Understanding these shifts explains why a midnight knock carries weight far beyond sound. Let's begin with the body. Around midnight, your circadian rhythm begins to dip into its deepest rest cycle. Core body temperature lowers, blood pressure decreases, and the brain begins to transition into slower wave patterns designed for deep sleep. In this state, your physical defenses are at their weakest. You're less alert, less logical, and more vulnerable to interruption. If you've ever been startled awake by a noise, you know how disorienting it feels. That disorientation isn't just confusion, it's an energetic opening. Your guard is down. On a spiritual level, many traditions describe midnight as a thin time, when the boundary between the physical and spiritual realms narrows. Mystics say this is when prayers rise most powerfully, but it is also when negative energies roam more freely, seeking those who are unprotected. Just as the quiet of night allows you to hear your own heartbeat, it also allows unseen presences to approach more easily. This duality, divine opportunity on one side, potential danger on the other, is what makes midnight sacred and risky at once. Nature mirrors this shift too. Animals follow their own circadian rhythms. Nocturnal creatures are most active at midnight, sensing the stillness humans create while sleeping. The world becomes quieter, yes, but not empty, just tuned to a different frequency. Those sensitive to energy often report feeling pressure in the air at night, as if silence itself is vibrating. For chosen ones, these shifts are magnified. You are more spiritually attuned, which means you notice the subtle changes others ignore: sudden wakefulness at 3 a.m., intense dreams, or a sense of being watched in silence. These aren't random experiences. They are signals that your inner radar is picking up what others can't. Midnight makes you more receptive, more open, but openness without boundaries can be dangerous. This is why the midnight knock is not just about sound, it's about timing. Whoever or whatever comes at that hour understands that you're at your weakest physically and at your most open spiritually. It's a moment when hesitation can lead to compromise. Yet, this very vulnerability is also a chance to grow stronger. By staying grounded, by refusing to let fear or distraction dictate your response, you transform midnight from a trap into a training ground. When you understand the energy shifts at night, you stop fearing them and start preparing for them. Midnight ceases to be a time of dread and becomes a time of awareness, a moment to protect your spirit and stand firm in the silence. Carrying a purpose makes you visible, even when you try to be quiet. Those called to greater things often carry an invisible signal, patterns of intuition, heightened sensitivity, small synchronistic nudges that point toward a larger path. That signal attracts attention. Not all attention is friendly. In spiritual language, being chosen simply means you're on the radar of blessings, yes, but also of distractions and obstructions designed to test whether you're ready. Think of a garden about to bloom. Before the first flower opens, pests and storms arrive to test the plant's strength. The gardener's job is to protect and strengthen the soil. In the same way, when destiny approaches, tests increase so your foundations can be proven. These tests rarely arrive as obvious confrontations. They come disguised as convenient crises, flattering offers, or midnight disturbances that press on your weakest spots. Their aim is not always to destroy you. Often it's to see if you will trade tomorrow's promise for a momentary fix. There's also strategy to how these interruptions show up. Forces that oppose growth work through familiarity and emotional triggers. They dress as helpful people, urgent callers, or suddenly needy relationships because those things are most likely to get a response. If they can catch you off guard, late at night, tired, or emotionally raw, you may react without your deeper wisdom. That split-second decision can reroute momentum, delay blessings, or create confusion that takes weeks to unwind. Another reason chosen ones experience more disturbances is clarity. You often sense when something is off before others do. That sensitivity makes you a living antenna. You feel the pull of energy, the tremor of shifting opportunities, the small alarms that most people ignore. Being sensitive is a double-edged sword. It alerts you to real help, but it also makes you an easier target for deception disguised as divine help. Learning to distinguish between the two becomes essential. Importantly, these trials are not punishment. They are refining fires. Each interruption tests an inner quality, patience, humility, discernment, or obedience. Passing the small tests shows you are ready for larger responsibilities. Failing them doesn't mean you're doomed. It means work remains to prepare your character for what's next. The goal is growth, not shame. So what do? Treat interruptions as checkpoints, not derailments. Strengthen routines that keep you centered, prayer, silence, healthy boundaries, and simple rituals that signal to your spirit that you are protected. When a knock, call, or sudden crisis arrives, ask, is this aligning with what I've been called to do? If the answer is unclear, choose restraint. In the quiet, destiny keeps its promises to those who protect the path. Every door you open carries consequences. At midnight, when energy is fragile and your spirit is most impressionable, answering a knock is never just a harmless action. It is a symbolic agreement, a signal that you are willing to let something enter, not just your home, but your mind, emotions, and spiritual atmosphere. That's why the warnings around the midnight knock are so insistent. What you open yourself to in that moment can shape your next steps in ways you may not immediately see. The first consequence is energetic. Your personal energy is like a flame, steady when guarded, but easily disturbed when exposed to the wind. Opening the door at midnight can feel like allowing a draft into your soul. Suddenly, you may feel drained, anxious, or restless without understanding why. Small choices like this, made when you are off guard, can weaken your alignment with clarity and focus. It's not always about an intruder entering your home. Sometimes, the very act of answering creates a leak in your energy field. The second consequence is spiritual. Many traditions emphasize that darker forces cannot simply walk into your life. They need permission. That permission is often symbolic. A word spoken, a door opened, a hand extended can all serve as subtle invitations. By responding, you may unknowingly grant access to influences that thrive on distraction and confusion. This doesn't mean you're cursed forever, but it does mean you've opened a channel that must now be closed through prayer, discipline, and recentering. Prevention is always easier than repair. The third consequence is psychological. Once you open the door, you may carry regret or unease. Why did I answer? What if I had stayed silent? That self-doubt can spiral into paranoia, robbing you of peace. Worse, if the knock came from someone intentionally disruptive, you may now find yourself entangled in drama or manipulation at a time when you needed focus. Chosen ones cannot afford unnecessary detours. Every distraction steals energy from the greater purpose waiting ahead. There are also practical consequences. Imagine answering a stranger at night. Your safety is compromised. your family's peace is disrupted, and the sense of security in your home is shaken. These tangible effects mirror the unseen ones, reinforcing the truth that not all opportunities to engage are worth the cost. The most profound consequence, however, is spiritual delay. Every major blessing is preceded by a test. Failing the small test of discernment can postpone the arrival of what you've been praying for. But refusing the knock, choosing silence, strengthens your spirit, proving you can guard the gates of your destiny. So the warning is not about paranoia, it's about protection. By recognizing the consequences of opening, you learn that silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the choice to preserve your energy, protect your spirit, and keep the path clear for what truly belongs in your life. Silence is one of the most underestimated forms of strength. In a world where people are conditioned to react instantly, answer the call, open the door, reply to the message, silence feels unnatural, even uncomfortable. Yet silence is often the exact response that protects you. When it comes to the midnight knock, silence is not avoidance. It is wisdom. It is your spirit declaring, "Not everything deserves my attention." Silence acts as a shield. Think of it like an invisible barrier between you and the forces testing you. By refusing to respond, you deny entry to anything that thrives on your reaction. Negative energies, manipulative people, and disruptive distractions all share one thing in common: they need you to answer. They feed on engagement. When you stay quiet, you starve them of power. You prove that your peace is not up for negotiation. This principle applies beyond midnight too. In everyday life, silence is a boundary. Not every argument deserves your voice. Not every invitation deserves your time. Not every opportunity is aligned with your purpose. Learning when to withhold your response is as important as learning when to speak. For chosen ones, this balance is crucial. Your words carry weight, so you must use them with intention. Silence is also a declaration of trust. By not rushing to answer, you are choosing to believe that God, not fear, directs your steps. You are saying, "If this is truly meant for me, it will come in the right way, at the right time, through the right door." That faith strengthens you. It teaches patience and discernment, qualities that prepare you for greater responsibilities ahead. There's another layer here. Silence creates space for clarity. When you resist the urge to act impulsively, you give yourself a moment to listen inwardly. Often, your intuition will confirm what your panic tried to ignore, that the knock was a distraction, not a calling. By pausing, you step out of fear and into wisdom. For chosen ones, silence is not passivity, it's an active choice to protect your spirit. Imagine a fortress at night. The guards hear a noise at the gate. Do they fling it open immediately? No. They wait, they observe, and they let silence work as their first line of defense. In the same way, your silence is a guard at the door of your destiny. So when the midnight knock comes, remember, the test isn't whether you're brave enough to answer, it's whether you're wise enough to stay silent. True strength isn't proven by reaction, it's proven by restraint. And silence, in its quiet power, often speaks louder than any answer ever could. One of the hardest challenges for chosen ones is learning to tell the difference between a genuine call for help and a disguised distraction. False signals are designed to appear urgent, to stir compassion or fear so that you act without thinking. The midnight knock is one of the oldest examples of this tactic. On the surface, it may sound like someone who needs you, but underneath, it could be a test, a deception, or even an energetic trap. Recognizing these signals for what they are is the key to staying safe. A common marker of a false signal is timing. Why does the knock come exactly at midnight, the most spiritually vulnerable hour? If it were truly urgent, why not sooner, or why not through clearer, safer channels? Timing matters. Midnight is chosen precisely because your defenses are lowered and hesitation is most costly. That alone should make you pause. Another sign is repetition without reason. In many stories and real-life accounts, people hear a persistent knock, only to find no one outside, or the sound comes at the same hour for several nights in a row. This is not normal behavior, it's an attempt to unsettle you, to wear down your resolve until you finally respond. When you notice patterns that don't make sense, take them as red flags. False signals also manipulate emotion. A distressed voice, an urgent tone, or even silence on the other side of the door All of these are meant to pull at your instincts. They whisper, "What if someone needs you?" But discernment means asking a better question: why would true help arrive this way? Real emergencies don't cloak themselves in mystery. Genuine calls for assistance come with clarity, not confusion. Your intuition is another powerful tool. Most people have felt that gut sense of something being off, even if they can't explain it. For chosen ones, that inner radar is stronger than you realize. If the knock makes your stomach tighten, your heart race, or your skin prickle, trust that response. Spiritual deception thrives when you doubt yourself. Honoring your instincts is part of passing the test. It's also important to remember that not every signal is external. Sometimes the midnight knock shows up as a late-night message, a sudden impulse to revisit an old mistake, or a random distraction that pulls you off your spiritual focus. These two are knocks at the door of your energy, and the principle remains the same: not every call deserves an answer. By recognizing false signals, you protect your energy and sharpen your discernment. The midnight knock isn't always a literal knock. It's any urgent, unsettling pull that demands a reaction. The chosen ones who learn to recognize and resist these false signals prove they are ready for the clarity and blessings that come with true guidance. Guarding your spirit is practical work, not just a vague spiritual ideal. It's about building small habits and environments that keep your energy steady so sudden disruptions, whether a late-night knock, an impulsive message, or a tempting distraction, don't derail you. Start with habits you can do tonight: a short grounding routine before bed, a clear intention for rest, and a few simple protections that become automatic. First, anchor your body. Grounding reduces anxiety and strengthens willpower. Try this: sit on the edge of your bed for 2 minutes, place both feet flat on the floor, breathe slowly in for 4 counts and out for 6. Picture roots extending from your feet into the earth. That 2-minute practice shifts your nervous system from reactive to calm, making you less likely to respond from panic or impulse. Second, set energetic boundaries. Before sleep, state a clear intention out loud. 3 sentences are enough. For example, "My home is protected tonight. I will not answer disturbances that disalign me. I rest in peace." Saying it anchors your mind and signals an inner boundary. You can pair this with a simple object: a small stone, a ring, or a bedside glass of water placed with intention acts as a physical reminder of that boundary. Third, use ritualized prayer or remembrance. This looks different across traditions: reciting a favorite verse, a short dua, psalm, mantra, or simply whispering gratitude and protection. Ritual focuses attention and aligns your heart with what matters. Even 30 seconds of sincere words can change the energetic atmosphere of a room. Fourth, tidy your threshold, both physical and digital. Keep your entryway uncluttered, add a soft light outside if possible, and establish a household rule: no unexpected visitors after a set hour without prior notice. Digitally, silence notifications overnight or use "do not disturb" so your phone won't jolt you awake and provoke a hurried decision. Boundaries in the small things protect you from the large. Fifth, cultivate community safeguards. Let a trusted neighbor or family member know your guidelines, who is allowed to contact you, and how emergencies should be handled. Real help comes through known channels. If someone genuinely needs you, they will use those channels or persist in ways that make sense. Finally, practice quick recovery tools. If you do get disturbed and feel shaken, have a short reset: 3 grounding breaths, a sip of water, a prayer or affirmation, and a simple task: stand up, stretch, or wash your face. These actions bring your body and mind back into alignment, so a single moment of weakness doesn't become a long detour. Guarding your spirit is a lifestyle of small, consistent choices. When you prepare your body, mind, home, and relationships, the tests that come, no matter when, lose power. You'll sleep deeper, wake clearer, and navigate interruptions from a place of strength rather than reaction. Stories are the bridges between knowledge and understanding. They take an abstract warning, like "don't answer the midnight knock," and make it real, relatable, and unforgettable. Across folklore, scripture, and even modern experiences, tales of the midnight knock serve as living reminders of why discernment matters. In Irish folklore, there is the tale of the death knock. Families believed that a sudden rapping on the door in the middle of the night was not from a visitor, but from a spirit foretelling the passing of a loved one. These knocks were said to come in threes, loud enough to wake the household, yet when the door was opened, no one stood outside. The lesson woven into this legend was simple. Answering didn't change the outcome, it only deepened the fear. The wiser choice was to remain still, to recognize the sign without granting it power. Scriptural stories echo the same theme. In the Bible, the parable of the wise and foolish virgins shows the importance of being ready at midnight, not by opening the door in panic, but by keeping lamps filled and discernment sharp. The message isn't about paranoia, it's about preparation. In Islamic tradition, stories of the unseen, jinn who may knock or whisper at night, remind believers to protect their homes with remembrance of God and to trust silence over impulsive action. These stories don't exist to frighten, but to train the spirit. Even in modern times, people share personal accounts that sound eerily similar. Someone hears persistent knocking at 2 a.m., opens the door, and finds no one there. Or they receive a strange phone call in the dead of night, only to hear silence on the other end. Some dismiss these as coincidences, but others recognize the symbolic test. Will you hand over your peace to curiosity, or will you hold your ground? There are also metaphorical midnight knocks, moments when something or someone tries to enter your life at the wrong time. An ex reaching out just when you're healing. A too good to be true offer appearing right before a breakthrough. A sudden distraction pulling you from your spiritual growth. These aren't random, they're patterns. And in every story, the chosen ones who learned to pause, wait, and discern emerged stronger, while those who reacted quickly often faced regret. What these stories reveal is timeless. The midnight knock comes in many forms, but the principle is constant. You are not required to answer every call. Sometimes the most powerful action is no action. The people who ignored the knock weren't cowards, they were wise guardians of their peace. There's a quiet reason warnings about the midnight knock get pushed aside. Modern culture benefits when you stay distracted, reactive, and emotionally available 24/7. The hidden truth isn't a single conspiracy. It's a pattern of social, technological, and spiritual forces that make it harder for sensitive people to protect their inner life. When you understand how those forces work, the midnight knock stops feeling like an odd superstition and starts looking like a predictable pressure test aimed at your attention and boundaries. First, notice the way our attention economy operates. Apps, notifications, and round-the-clock connectivity train you to answer immediately. Every ping conditions a reflex. Respond now, resolve now. That reflex is excellent for convenience but terrible for discernment. It shrinks the space between impulse and choice, which is exactly the space needed to spot a test. Forces, whether human manipulators or simply chaotic energies, take advantage of that automaticity. A late-night alert, a sudden message, or an unusual visitor can short-circuit your wisdom if you're primed to react. Second, there's a cultural dismissal of spiritual sensitivity. Skepticism about unseen realities has its place, but when sensitivity is mocked or medicalized, people who feel subtle nudges begin to doubt themselves. That doubt is useful to the very things trying to disturb you. If you don't trust your inner voice, you'll rely on external drama to tell you what to do. The hidden truth is that some lessons were always meant to be passed quietly, through restraint, not through headlines, and when society trivializes those lessons, fewer people learn them. Third, social pressure and moral narratives can be weaponized. The urge to be a good neighbor or a compassionate person is noble, yet those virtues can be manipulated by false urgency. If everyone around you believes that immediate action equals compassion, you're more likely to break a helpful boundary. The people or situations that push you late at night often count on that social script to trigger guilt and compliance. Finally, there's spiritual strategy, tests filter readiness. The world doesn't always shout when it's trying to break you. It whispers, it knocks, it stages small temptations. Those who pass small tests, who keep silence, who protect their hours, who choose to wait, are the ones who arrive undistracted when true opportunity knocks. That's the deeper truth they'd rather hide. Restraint increases power. Quiet preparation yields clearer vision. Knowing this changes your posture. You stop blaming yourself for every hesitation and start seeing pause as protection. You begin to design life so that your attention is a resource, not a liability. And most importantly, You reclaim the right to refuse the call that arrives at the wrong hour. When you hold that line, you aren't being difficult, you're being faithful to the path you were called to walk. Every path of destiny comes with checkpoints, moments where your choices, more than your talents or intentions, determine whether you're ready to move forward. The midnight knock is one of those checkpoints. It may look small, even insignificant, but it functions as a test of discipline, awareness, and faith. Destiny is not handed over cheaply. It is refined through choices that seem ordinary but carry extraordinary weight. Think of destiny as a journey up a mountain. Each stage brings you closer to the peak, but every few steps there's a gate. To pass, you must show you've learned the lesson of the level you're leaving behind. The midnight knock is one of those gates. It asks, can you control your impulses when everything in you wants to react? Can you protect what is sacred, even in moments of uncertainty? Spiritual traditions across the world highlight this theme. In Scripture, figures chosen for great purposes were always tested in quiet, private ways before their public calling. Moses in the desert, David in obscurity, Joseph in prison, all endured trials that seemed hidden but shaped their strength. These hidden tests determined whether they could carry the weight of what was to come. Similarly, the midnight knock may not look dramatic, but your response reveals your readiness for bigger blessings. The knock also represents the nature of destiny's challenges. They rarely come in forms you expect. You prepare for obvious enemies, but it's the subtle temptations, distractions, small compromises, unnecessary reactions that often delay progress. A moment's hesitation at the wrong gate can keep you circling the same path longer than necessary. But when you refuse the false invitation, you signal to life itself, I am ready for more. I know the difference between distraction and destiny. For chosen ones, the weight of these tests can feel heavier. That's because the higher the calling, the stricter the preparation. Destiny is not about ease, it's about alignment. The knock is not punishment, it's calibration. Each test removes a layer of impulsiveness, fear, or naivety that could sabotage your purpose later. Here's the empowering truth. Tests are not meant to break you, they're meant to prove you. When you face the midnight knock and choose silence, you're not just avoiding harm, you're actively shaping your spirit into one that can handle abundance, influence, and divine responsibility. So instead of resenting the tests, see them as signs that you are close to breakthrough. Destiny doesn't test those with nothing to protect. If you are tested, it means you carry something valuable. The midnight knock is not a curse, it is confirmation. And your refusal to answer is proof that you're ready to step into what was meant for you all along. By now, the meaning of the midnight knock is no longer a mystery. It's a test disguised as interruption, a shadow dressed as urgency, a signal asking if you'll give away what is sacred or protect it. But here, the empowering truth, you are not powerless in the face of it. You already carry the authority to decide who and what gets access to your energy, your peace, and your destiny. Think about this. Not answering is not weakness, it is mastery. To resist the urge to react, to let silence stand where fear wants you to move, is one of the strongest choices a chosen one can make. The world may applaud quick responses, but heaven applauds discernment. By refusing the midnight knock, you prove that you can stay steady in the face of uncertainty. That steadiness is what carries you into your next season. Remember also that the knock is never bigger than your calling. If you are being tested, it's because you are being prepared. Life doesn't waste challenges on empty vessels, it sharpens those who carry promise. Every ignored distraction, every silent response, every boundary you enforce is a statement. I am guarding what God has entrusted to me. That posture makes you unshakable. Here's a practical way to anchor yourself tonight. Before sleep, whisper a declaration of strength. Something simple like, I am protected, I am grounded, I will not open doors that are not meant for me. These words, spoken with conviction, shift your mindset from fear to authority. They remind you that you don't have to fight every battle. Sometimes victory looks like stillness. And if you've failed tests before, if you've answered knocks you shouldn't have, don't carry shame. Every test is also a lesson. What matters is what you do now. Tonight is a new chance to respond differently, to prove your growth, and to align more deeply with your path. The past doesn't disqualify you, it equips you. So when the midnight knock comes, whether through a sound, a message, or a distraction in your spirit, choose silence. Choose strength. Choose to wait for the door that is yours, the opportunity that aligns with divine timing, because what's meant for you doesn't come through manipulation or fear. It comes with clarity, peace, and alignment. You are not just avoiding danger, you are stepping into empowerment. The midnight knock is only a test, and by passing it, you affirm that you are ready for the blessings, breakthroughs, and responsibilities waiting on the other side of this season. Chosen ones, the power has always been in your hands. Tonight, prove it with your silence.